What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Let's change some spark plugs on my 2017 Charger RT. Alright, so like I said, this is my 2017 Dodge Charger RT with a 5.7 liter HEMI. Now normally there would be an engine cover here, but when I bought the car it didn't have one. So it makes my life a little bit easier. But once the engine cover's off, you can see all the coil packs down the side, so they're all fairly easy to get to. It looks like the two in the front might be the most difficult. Here on the driver's side, you got the airbox in the way to get this coil pack out. And on the passenger side, we might have some issues with the oil dipstick to get that coil pack out. But overall, the rest of them should be fairly simple to get to. So let's just tear into this thing. Before you even get started, one of the first things you're going to want to do is verify the gap in your spark plugs. I've already gone through and done all mine. You can see I wrote gapped on the box. That way I know each plug in here has already been gapped. Then on each box, I wrote what each spark plug is gapped to. Now, I looked it up, and according to everything I found, these gapped to 0.044. And overall, most of them came already pre-gapped. About a handful of them or so were a little low. They were down around 0.040. So just re-gap them to 0.044. They're all good to go now. Now that can happen for a number of reasons. You know, in production, they get bumped, the gap gets closed a little bit. Maybe the box was dropped, whatever the case may be. But all you do is you get a spark plug gap, little gap gauge, and what you're going to want to do is adjust the distance between the electrode and the outer piece there. I forget what it's called, but you want to gap that distance. Like I said, for these it's 0.044. Like I said, I went through and verified all of them already. Now, while you're working, if you drop your plug, which I've been known to do, you're going to want to go and re-verify that gap. You know, when you drop it, it could land with the electrode down, it could bend that electrode in, and then your gap will be off. So just go through and verify all your gaps before you start any work. And then, like I said, if you drop one, just verify the gap on it again. Really simple, only takes a few minutes. It's a few minutes of cheap insurance. All right, so I'm going to start with the driver's side here. So in order to get to this coil pack here, the airbox is going to have to be moved. Now, so all the clamps, like the hose clamp here that holds the hose onto the airbox, then there are some screws around the side here that hold this together. They're all 8mm. So just loosen up this hose clamp, pop that air hose off, then you can go around. You can open up your airbox. Like I said, they're all 8mm. Get a little nut driver. If you don't have a nut driver, you just get an 8mm socket, or these even have a Phillips head on top, so you don't even need an 8mm nut driver or socket. You can just open this up with a Phillips screw. But I just found it easier to use a nut driver, use a socket on the end of a ratchet, whatever the case may be. So there's 3 here, plus the front and the side. The back is actually held in with clips. And we're going to want to take this air hose off. So we're going to take this all the way out. Air hose off. This lit'll come right off. I'm going to clean the air filter while I'm in here. I just hit 90,000 miles on this car, so I'm getting ready to take it in for a service. But I figure I can save myself a little bit of money by doing the spark plugs myself. I don't know the last time they were actually done, so like I said, this is just cheap insurance. And then I'm going to have to get this airbox actually out of here. So there's another screw right here. Again, 8mm. And the airbox pop right out. Now I have clear room to these 2 screws, 2 bolts holding the coil pack in place. And these are 10mm. Now, again, I have a power ratchet. You can do it with just a regular handheld ratchet. Don't need any real special tools for this. Coil pack loose. Now, for the connector on top, I'm going to try to pull you around this side so you can see it better. So for the connectors that go to the coil packs, it's had this red clip. This just pops up. And then you've got to press in on the side here, and then you can just disconnect it. Now sometimes, they're in an awkward spot. You may not be able to get a good grip on it. If that's the case, I found you can take a small flat tip screwdriver. Let me see if I can get you a better angle. I'll show you on the passenger side one here, since the connector faces forward or the clip faces forward, it's easier for you guys to see. So again, this just pops up, and then you should just normally be able to squeeze this with your thumb, and it pops right off. If for any reason you can't, because some of them can be a little tough to get to, if you're a little bit weaker hands, you can take a flat tip screwdriver. If you come in here and you're not trying to pry on it, you're just pushing this in there just enough to pop that clip in, and then you can pop the connector right off. Super simple. Just be careful. Over time the plastic can get brittle, it can break, but if you just take your time, don't force it, you'll be able to get them off. So with the connector off and the two little bolts that hold the coil pack in place undone, coil pack can just pop right out. You can see there are two. So the HEMI, 2 spark plugs. Then just take a ratchet, and this is a 5/8 socket, spark plug socket. It's got a little rubber O-ring in there that actually kind of grabs onto the top of the spark plug. Then you can just feed this down and take that off there. I may have to move this out of the way. I think I'm going to have to. Let's get that out of the way. All right, so this is just the radiator overflow, and to move it out of the way, it's just 2 10mm screws that hold it by the top here. Once those are out, then you can maneuver this around. I'm not going to take it out of the way just because I don't want to disconnect the lines. I shouldn't have to, actually I probably can. I don't need to worry about it leaking at all. It's just the radiator overflow. It's the overflow spill. There's a hose on the bottom, so yeah, I'm not going to bother actually taking this out of the way. But with it loose now, I can maneuver it where it's out of the way enough. So now with that out of the way, got my spark plug socket. Come down the side there. Then you can feel when it engages the spark plug. Breaking loose. There we go. Wasn't out all the way. And there's the old spark plug. The other one. They're not too terribly tight. I believe they only torque to like 22, 25 foot-pounds, something like that. I'll double check before I put the new ones in, but they're not that tight. So I just kind of bumped the wrench there a little bit, and that got it. That broke it loose. There we go. You see some carbon deposits there a little bit on these plugs. So definitely a good thing. Definitely a good time to go ahead and replace them. So I'm going to go verify the torque values, grab some anti-seize, then we'll put the new plugs in. So before I started this, like I said, I went online, I verified the gap value of the spark plugs, and everything I saw online, so they should be gapped to 0.044. So I figured while I'm at it, here's the old plug, and I thought I would just verify the gap on the old plug. And I don't know how well this is going to show up. Focus, 0.044. Pretty good. So now I know all of my new plugs are gapped to the correct value. So now we're ready to go ahead and start putting these in. So I've got 2 new plugs, got some anti-seize. Now, there's no need to go nuts with this stuff. It just takes a little bit on the threads. You don't want to slather this stuff all over the place. It has a tendency to get all over the place. You'll probably be wearing it by the end of the day. You can avoid it. I suggest you do. This stuff is messy. But just gotta kind of stir it up here. It's been sitting a while. Like I said, you don't need to go nuts with this stuff. And Doesn't take much. A little bit goes a long way. So I'm going to pull out one of the new plugs here. Take this little protective cover off it. And I'm just going to put a little bit, probably near the end, near the tip of the plug, just so as you thread it in, it'll work its way up the threads. There's no need, like I said, to slather this stuff all over the place. A dab will do you. As you can see, this stuff is messy. That was a little bit more than a dab, so we'll just... Now what you don't want to do is get this stuff on the electrode. You want to keep it off the electrode. If you get it on there, take it off. You don't want it on there. But a little bit of anti-seize. Back into the socket. I said that O-ring in there will hold your spark plug. Now we're just going to thread this back in the hole. All right, now when you're putting this in, you don't want to use your battery ratchet or anything like that. You want to do this by hand. You want to be able to feel that it's threading in there straight. You don't want to get this cross threaded. So I can feel it's going in nice and easy. And I'll just run it down until it's finger snug. Okay, there we go. I know it's in there. Then I got my torque wrench. And what I saw online was that it goes anywhere from 18.5 to 22 foot-pounds. So I've got my torque wrench set for 20 foot-pounds. We'll just torque this down. The 20 foot-pounds is not a lot, guys. There we go, snugging up. There you go. 20 foot-pounds. Now we just go and do that 15 more times, 2 per cylinder. All right, so here's one thing that I've had to do to get to these two back here. Because of the AC line right here, I can't use the regular 3/8 extension. It's too long. It doesn't give you the right angle because it hits that AC line. So what I did is I went and got my 1/4 inch extension, put an adapter on it to go into the spark plug socket, and then another adapter to go back to my 3/8 ratchet. Now what that's going to do, that's a short one, that's a shorter extension, but it's still long enough to get around that AC line. Plus it's narrow enough that if it were longer, I could probably come straight out. But because it's not quite as long, now I can get down inside there. Now I can bring my ratchet in. Now I can work around that AC line. And again, plastic free. Once it's free, now I should be able to take it out by hand and take the ratchet out of the way and spin this out by hand. Just some things you're going to have to work around, you know, rather than try to pull things out or move things around, especially like that AC line. There's no moving that. But like the radiator overflow, that you can just move out of the way relatively easy. There are some things you're just going to have to figure out a way to work around in order to get this stuff out. So when it comes to putting everything back together, it's just the opposite. Slide your coil packs in, bolt them down, and connect them. Now, before you slide them in, you may want to add some dielectric grease up inside the coil packs. Mine, there's still a good amount of dielectric grease in there, so I'm not going to really worry about it. I would say just take a look, spray some in there, never hurts. Again, you don't fill it up, just spray a little in there. It just keeps everything lubed and helps with the connectivity between the coil pack and the spark plug. But I'm just going to go ahead and get these back together. You can see I laid these down, each of the coil packs, in the order that they come off, just so I know, just so each one goes right back in where it came from. And then hopefully, should there be an issue, it'll be easy to track down. But there won't be any issues. Put your air box in, this bottom piece, which my foam is pretty much destroyed there. Oh well. Seats around, there's an intake on the bottom. The fresh air comes in. Just gotta make sure that goes around that. Then you would put your air cleaner back in and put the top back on, but I gotta clean my air cleaner, my air filter. I need to clean mine, so I'm gonna do that later. Now, I'm gonna go do the other side. All right, so got the back three done. We're on the passenger side. Now for the front two, the oil dipstick isn't really a problem. I mean, at least the coil pack, they kind of flex a bit, so you can get that out pretty easy. But in order to get the spark plugs out, at first I was thinking I was going to kind of move this fuse box out of the way, but that doesn't really work. So what I found you do, cut your socket, you get a real short extension, 3/8 extension. Then I just have this real tiny 3/8 extension. And that gives me just enough now. And when I put this down inside there, put it on the plug, I can then break it loose. Now I've already broken it loose to see if this was going to be enough. That was just enough to get in there, get that plug out. Now I haven't broken the other one free yet, so again, get that down in there, get it onto the plug, and then you can take your ratchet out and break this one free. There you go. Now that everything is put back together, everything's reconnected, everything's back where it's supposed to be, we can fire this thing up and make sure there are no issues.